I think one of the biggest threats to the future of living a nomadic lifestyle, living in an RV or a van, is what is happening to our public lands under the current administration. I'm worried that everything is either going to be ruined by oil rigs or extensive catastrophic logging, or that they're just going to be sold to the highest bidder. And if you think I'm crazy, listen to this video. I'm not crazy, because that's exactly what's happening.
There ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to find your own.
Can you imagine a world without public lands? Imagine that for a minute. We're really lucky in this country. We have a ton, millions of acres of public lands, and they include not only national parks but wildlife refuges. That sounds funny. Conservation areas, national forests, national monuments, fish and wildlife and game areas, rivers and lakes and things, and BLM, which is where I'm at. The Bureau of Land Management manages all of these public lands in the desert. Imagine for a minute if we didn't have any of this. What would it look like? What would it look like if our government didn't say, starting in the late 19th century, early 20th century, what if our government didn't say, you know what, we see the writing on the wall, we want to start protecting some lands so that they are available to the citizens, to the people. Imagine for a minute if they hadn't done that. What would it look like? Imagine this being an extension of Las Vegas. Imagine the national forest, Yosemite, Yellowstone, being sold to the highest bidder. Resorts go up, skyrise hotels, so you can't even enjoy nature anymore. And before you get mad at me for being a tree-hugging, progressive, woke liberal, that affects you too. Imagine if you don't have that favorite pond to fish in. Conservation, public lands, the government has kept that safe so that you can continue to go there and fish and know that the fish that you're going to get are edible, that they're not poisoned, and that we're losing that. Or that you don't have to pay. Yeah, you have to pay for a fishing license. But imagine if every time you wanted to go fishing at that pond, you had to pay the person who owned it. Big, huge fences around it, no trespassing, there's a gate, and you have to pay every time you want to use it. Or hunting. You hunters out there, you hunt on public lands, right? Imagine if we didn't have those public lands for you to hunt on. Imagine if they were just littered with oil drills. I saw that in Allegheny National Forest. Just oil rigs everywhere, killing off or poisoning the wildlife. Or, again, no trespassing signs. You're not allowed to be here. This is private property. You can't hunt here anymore. What about those of you who love your OHVs, your Razors, your Jeeps? You love off-roading. Say goodbye to that. If we hadn't had leaders in this country who looked into the future and said we need to protect these so that people can have land to enjoy. Imagine if we had to pay some private person or company for that. If we're lucky, there would even be any left to pay for, because that's not cost effective. If a company wants to buy public land, do you really think that a $10, $100 visit to hunt on is going to be enough? No, they're going to want to develop it. Imagine your favorite hunting place turning into a New York City, or a suburb of New York City, or wherever it is, a suburb of Missoula, Montana, or a Palm Springs, or a Vail, Colorado, where they raise all the natural beauty and put in condos and sky rises and casinos and stores and gift shops. Imagine that. Can't hunt there, can you? So the fact that we have public lands is a gift. Don't you think every human being should be able to access nature? And I'm talking about like this. I'm not talking Central Park. Shouldn't every human being have access to raw, untainted wilderness, where we can commune with that primordial version of ourselves that our ancestors enjoyed eons ago. I mean, that's still within us. We need nature, not only for our personal well-being, we need it for the environment. These plants give us oxygen. They sustain wildlife. It all works together in a giant ecosystem in order to keep us healthy, sane, mentally healthy, physically healthy, entertained. I mean, there's nothing like going out into the wilderness, doing whatever you like to do, right? To kind of get in touch with that primal thing within you. If we didn't have these millions of acres protected, that would be gone. Do we want to sell our public lands to the highest bidder so that the average American is priced out of being able to just go out and enjoy nature? Is that a world we want to live in? So I've been traveling and camping on public lands for more than 9 years in my RV. But I'm not the only one who enjoys public lands, like I just told you. Let's talk about what this new administration is doing to our public lands and what that might mean, not only for full-time RVers who live like me, but for anybody who enjoys public lands. So next I want to talk about some of the changes that are in the works for our public lands. And then I want to talk about what you can do if you're currently living in an RV the way I do, or if you've been thinking about living in an RV. I want to talk about how those changes might affect you. And we'll also talk about some other changes that might be down the pipe as far as privacy and freedom and things like that. But we'll talk about that in the third part of this video. So protecting our most precious natural landmarks in this country dates back all the way to Abraham Lincoln. I know when we think of national parks, we think of FDR, but it was actually Abraham Lincoln who started the process of preservation around Yosemite, and that was with the lobbying and encouragement of John Muir. And so Yosemite actually became national park in like 1890s. And then FDR came along in the early 1900s and decided that we needed to expand that. Places, imagine like Old Faithful in Yosemite, I'm sorry, in Yellowstone, or Glacier National Park, or the Everglades National Park, or Yosemite, or any of the other beautiful treasures that we have in this country. Imagine if they hadn't been protected. So we have a long history of wanting to protect our most beautiful natural resources until now. Now we have a president who has put logging, unlimited logging, on the table, and also who wants to raise a whole bunch of money really fast and is willing to sell our beautiful national natural treasures to the highest bidder. And that is going to impact RVers, whether you live like I do, traveling from public land to public land and camping on them, or you just want to visit national parks or camp in national forest campgrounds. It will affect you. But let's talk more about the details of what the current president wants to do to our public lands so that you can just be aware of these things that are already in the works. So there are currently about 840 million acres of public lands in the United States. The current president signed an executive order to start ramping up timber production or logging on our public lands. His executive order, encouraging the immediate expansion of American timber production, seeks to erode Endangered Species Act protection rules in favor of the expansion of tree felling across 280 million acres of national forests as well as other public lands for timber. And the Trump executive order is the most blatant attempt in American history by a president to hand over federal public lands to the logging industry. What's worse, the executive order is built on a lie. He claims, the current president claims that more logging will curb wildfires and protect communities, while overwhelming evidence shows that increasing logging will have the opposite effect. Trees provide environmental habitat. They help the soil. They help prevent mudslides and landslides. We all know that once you start, well, look at the wildfires in California. Every time there's a wildfire, the next time you get a rainy season, it's devastating to the surrounding communities because all that land can't absorb all the water because the trees are gone and mudslides start happening. Communities literally get wiped out. That's what's going to happen if you start logging millions of acres of public lands. This order that he signed actually has an annual target. Are saying this is how much we're going to cut down. We want to cut down 100 million acres of forest. So like I was saying, not only is that bad for surrounding communities and the soil, it's bad for the environment. Where do you think we get our oxygen? And this oxygen is getting more and more important when we are battling global warming. It's just going to speed up global warming, and it's going to make fires even worse. And what's more, the House Rules package, which passed in early January, included a provision to make it even easier to transfer or sell off public lands. This was passed by the House, the Republican MAGA House, in January. So besides the logging issue, they have now given the current president the power to completely sell off our public lands to the highest bidder. In fact, the current president's Interior Secretary's orders make public lands ground zero for mining and oil drilling. They're going to sell it to the highest bidder for oil drilling and mining. And to make matters worse, the current president, it's on the White House website, I read it, he wants to develop a sovereign wealth fund. What this does, it's kind of like, think about your 401k. It is a fund that is funded by a government, and it invests in a portfolio of stocks, and it's supposed to help with market volatility to continue to fund the government. The problem with this is we are trillions of dollars in debt. So rather than focusing on reducing the debt, because that is only something they care about when Democrats are in power, they need to raise trillions of dollars fast to create this sovereign wealth fund. And he said he's going to do it by selling off U.S. assets. And what are U.S. assets? Our public lands. Imagine if he decided to sell Yosemite to China. He said he wouldn't do it, but it is a possibility. Or if he decided to sell it to Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or any big, huge development agency, and all of a sudden Yosemite, instead of being a beautiful place that I have loved backpacking in the backcountry, again, what if it becomes a Vail, Colorado? And it's full of high rises. So this is what we are facing with this current presidency. Not only is he trying to bypass a preservation that has been in place in this country for more than 150 years to preserve our beautiful natural wonders, but also to preserve wildlife. Again, if you're a hunter or a fisher person, imagine if all of a sudden everything is so polluted, there are no more deer, there are no more fish. All of these public lands protections protect those things. Protect your wildlife, protect your fish. They protect your trails. They build trails if you like to go horseback riding or if you like to ride your OHVs. And the current president wants to just sell everything off to the highest bidder, put oil rigs in all of our public lands and poison them. Because I have seen the after effects of oil drilling on public lands. They drill, baby, drill, and leave their rigs behind that are seeping natural gas that you can still smell. So That is what is on the chopping block right now for public lands. And I think talking about any rights that might be taken away, I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. I know a lot of people are worried about privacy and about freedom. Are they going to make living in an RV illegal? I'm not seeing anything about that yet. If we live in RVs, if you're thinking about living in an RV, let's talk about what we can do to protect ourselves from all of these big changes. We are living in some extremely uncertain times in this country and also in the world. So whether you're concerned that in the future you're not going to be able to have access to public lands or national parks, or you're concerned that you may not be able to access truth, information, news, certain apps, certain content, books, TV shows. If that is a concern for you, then Surfshark VPN is a solution for you. I want to thank Surfshark for sponsoring today's video, and I'm going to tell you how you can use Surfshark in these uncertain times to not only keep yourself safe online, but to make sure you always have access to information, apps, TV shows, all kinds of things that you may not be able to have access to. Using a VPN, which is a virtual private network, you will be able to set your computer. So my computer is right here in Nevada, United States right now, but I can tell the world that this computer is in France if I want to, or India, or Mexico, or China. Using a virtual private network, I can change my IP address to anywhere in the world. So should a favorite app of yours all of a sudden not be available where your laptop is, or maybe a certain news source, or maybe a TV show, or maybe even some blogs or things like that, if they're suddenly not available where your computer is, you can just tell the world that your computer is somewhere else by using a VPN to change your IP address. The other great thing about Surfshark is that it protects you while you're online. Scammers, malware, phishing scams, online spying are getting more sophisticated every day. So even if you think you're safe while you're browsing the internet, they could be getting through and stealing your personal information and data, your banking information, your social security number. I mean, they can have access to everything. But using a VPN, it encrypts all of your data from your keyboard all the way to your bank and your financial institutions and whatever else you're browsing on the internet. You can also sign up for Surfshark Antivirus for extra protection. Another great benefit of Surfshark is one account is good for multiple devices in your household. Even if you're a family of 10, every device in your household can have Surfshark VPN and you can be protected online. And if you want to get started protecting yourself and making sure you have access to information and apps all the time, get started today using the link in the video description below. And when you use my link and my link only, you're going to get 4 months extra absolutely free. So get 4 months free and get started today. And there's no risk because Surfshark has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So start protecting yourself right now. Click the link below. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring today's video. So what I want to talk about next is if you're thinking about living in an RV, or you already live in an RV, and you're a little worried about what the future of RV life looks like, let's talk about some ways that you can plan and protect yourself and ensure you're going to live your freest nomadic life. So not only am I worried about the future of my RV life, I'm worried about the future of everybody who gets to enjoy public lands. I'm worried that we won't have free forests for everybody to enjoy. But besides that, what is the real concern for people who do live full-time in RVs and vans or live nomadic lives, especially those people who are out here because they don't have any other options? So Here is my concern with what is currently already on the table, as I described, with the executive orders and the sell-off of public lands for drill baby drill. Here is my concern. I am worried that there will no longer be public lands for us to stay on. I am worried that they're just going to completely go away. No more staying 14 days on BLM. No more staying 14 days in a national forest. I'm afraid that those are all going to be chained off with no trespassing signs, especially while they start building the oil rigs. I mean, they're all going to be taken over by oil companies, mining companies, and logging companies. And that is a real concern. The other concern is that of the 800 plus million acres of public lands that are currently available for everything, I mean, and I don't even know how much of that is available for dispersed camping. I would say probably less than half. But if we start selling off the forests and the deserts to drilling and logging and mining, a lot of what we camp on is going to be gone. So worst case scenario, it's all gone. There's nothing left. Best case scenario under the current administration is that it's deeply reduced. What that means is there might still be some available. You know, if there is desert that doesn't have oil, if there's no reason to sell it off. You know, I'm thinking about a lot of the desert out here. There may not be oil out here. There may not be minerals out here. So there might still be some left, but it's going to be deeply reduced. And what does that mean? More crowds. That just means that, yeah, if you are out here because it's all you can afford, then yeah, I think you'll still have places. I do. I don't think it's all going to disappear. 840 million acres is a lot, and I don't think a lot of it is valuable. But also with all the cuts, the national park cuts, the national forest cuts, all the jobs that were just slashed, took a chainsaw to, I am worried that some of these things, national parks might close down. There may no longer be camping in those national parks. The campgrounds are going to be open shorter. They're going to be dirty. They're going to be gross. They're not going to be clean. So there's definitely that side of it as well. So my biggest concern is for people who live like me. If you are a full-time RVer, or you want to be a full-time RVer who stays in public campgrounds, not national forest or national park campgrounds, but, you know, the private RV resorts, things like that. If you stay in mostly private campgrounds, I really don't think there is going to be any change. Right now, I'm not seeing any. I don't think we're on his radar. He can't make any money off us other than stealing the public lands away from the people. So I don't think right now our liberty is at risk. So if you don't travel and camp on public lands, then it may not be an issue for you at all. Right now, I'm not seeing that being an issue. If you do stay on public lands like I do, then yes, I think that we're going to start seeing the access to public lands shrink. And even if you are someone who likes to visit national parks, if you are someone who, you know, wants to travel around the country and stay in national forest campgrounds, which are some of my favorites, or national park campgrounds, I think that those are going to start being closed down because all this DOG, if they can't sell it, I think they're going to start shutting it down. We've already seen a drastic reduction in employees, and I think that is just going to continue to get worse. So here's my advice. If you are not on the road yet, especially, if you have a house, I would think twice about selling it. We don't know what the future holds as far as liberties are concerned. We don't know. Anything is possible with this administration. So even if you do plan on living in an RV and traveling mostly if you can afford private campgrounds and RV resorts and things like that, I think everybody at this point needs a place to land. I am getting serious again about looking for land. I think we all are going to need a place to land because I just don't know. We just don't know. I mean, there's so much uncertainty in this country and in my life as an American. There's so many uncertainties that I never thought I would face. But right now, I would hold on to my house. If you're planning on living in an RV, if you can and afford it, hold on to your house, rent it out. I know some people are saying they want to sell it before the market falls out, but I'm concerned that if all the public lands do get closed, or even if they decide tomorrow there's an executive order, living in your RV is illegal, and they start checking papers, across state lines. I mean, anything is possible, right? That I'm worried that if you sell your house, you are going to be stranded. You're not going to have any place to go. So I would think twice right now about selling everything to hit the road. Save the house, rent it out. The other thing is, if you are on the road now and you're completely 100% full-time like me, seriously, I have mixed feelings about buying property, especially as a woman, and especially if you are a member of another marginalized community. I think especially if you're of Hispanic descent, I am worried about that. I've studied a lot of fascism and authoritarianism and dictatorships, and I'm a little bit worried that could be stripped away. So there are no answers. Everybody's like, you need to do a video about the future of RV life. The fact is, I don't have the answers because I don't know. Anything is possible. Any worst case scenario is possible right now under this current administration. I do think owning property, especially if you're a white guy, or if you can, put your property in a white guy's name, I think you're going to be safe. And you might want to consider getting a piece of land. I mean, I think that's worst case scenario, that land property is going to get stripped from us. I think that might even be a little paranoid. I'll own that. It might be a little paranoid. And that's what this administration wants. It wants us paranoid. So I think a piece of land, even if you can afford just a tiny, tiny little parcel, there are tons of desert communities where, and I know for a lot of people, I say for a few $1,000s, and I know that's nearly impossible if you're living paycheck to paycheck. The other thing is, if you're living on Social Security, I'm worried about you. If you are living on, if you rely on Medicaid and Medicare, that just got cut, I believe, yesterday. And I am worried about Social Security. I don't have any advice for you. I don't know what to do. I mean, if they cut Social Security, I know millions of people are living on it. I can't imagine they're going to do that because they don't want a bunch of destitute people homeless. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, let me get back. Here is what I recommend. Buy land or hold on to your land. If you don't have to get on the road right now, you might want to wait. Just wait a year, see how things play out, to see if it's safe. If you have a house, if you have property, if you're someplace nice and safe, especially in a blue state right now, you might want to wait. Just wait. You never know. Things might also get cheaper when the economy crashes. If you're in the market for an RV or a van, they could get really cheap, because I do think that we're going to have a recession, at least maybe even a depression. And just be smart. Keep your eyes and ears out. If you are someone who lives on Social Security or SSDI, I would seriously start thinking about other ways that you can survive. Maybe start stocking up now on supplies, rice and beans and things like that. Maybe, I know a lot of people are dealing with disabilities, but maybe seriously start thinking about what you can do to earn money should you lose your Social Security. I don't know what the future is going to look like, so I don't know if you're going to be able to make money by knitting hats or something like that, We are just living in such uncertain times, and I wish I had better answers for you and better advice for you, but I think that it's just really important to pay attention to what's going on, to the things that affect you, your Social Security, and public lands, what's going to be going on with public lands, and as far as our liberties are concerned. So that's the take I have right now on what's going on with this administration, and some advice for whatever it's worth, it's not great advice because there's just so much uncertainty that I don't know. None of us knows what's going to happen. None of us knows. Maybe none of this is going to happen. So I don't know if you found this helpful or not. I hope you did in some way. Start saving money, start carrying cash. I know a lot of people are looking at putting their money in foreign accounts. I'm a little worried. Part of Project 2025 was changing or gutting the FDIC, which ensures our money should banks fail. I would highly recommend maybe finding some place for at least some money. You're going to need some cash. I'm even thinking about maybe taking some money out of the bank and maybe buying a different currency. These are just some ideas that I have. I'm not giving you advice. I'm just kind of brainstorming with you on some of the things that I have been thinking about. I don't know if you found this helpful at all. I know I gave you a lot of information about what I'm seeing so far, the executive orders and the plans to sell off public lands. But again, we don't really know. A lot of what he says is illegal. I'm a little worried that the House did pass the law or the bill that is going to make it easier to sell off public lands. I don't know how much the courts are going to get involved, and these conservation groups are going to get involved and sue. So like I said, none of this might happen. I mean, he says a lot of things just to keep us all up in arms, and then a lot of it he can't actually follow through with because it's illegal, because he's not a king. But just pay attention to what's going on and take care of yourself, no matter what that entails. So, all right, I'll see you next time. I'm going to finish making my dinner. It's stuffed sweet potato, one of my favorite things. And I'll see you next Sunday with, I think, a travel video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you like my content, go ahead and subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button below, and click that bell for notifications so you never miss a video as soon as it comes out. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next Sunday. In the meantime, be happy, be free, be kind, and take care of yourself now more than ever. Bye.